Hi everyone, it's Jay here, and today we're going to go through part 1 of the April releases 2023. And we're going to start off with Tista, which is released from Viz Media on the 4th of April. This is a new series set in New York City, where the NYPD struggles to track down a serial killer known as Sister Militia, who has already been targeting mobsters and other criminals in the Big Apple. No one knows who Sister Militia really is except a few residents of a Catholic orphanage. Her name is Tista. Tista leads a dual life as the Grim Reaper of New York City and a university student studying to be a teacher, with extraordinary eyesight allowing her to make long-range shots with unrivaled accuracy. She's come to be feared by the criminal underground. Tista knows she's doomed, but can her feelings for a young man she just met bring her back from the abyss? And what will she do if he finds out who she really is? This sounds right up my street, so do let me know in the comments below if you've read this and whether it's any good or not. And next we have Lovesick Ellie, Volume 9. This is from Kodansha, and in this volume, Plain Ellie and Year 1 heartthrob Omikun are now dating openly. And everything seems to be going well until Ellie's dad catches them kissing. Ellie's dad disapproves of their relationship, and he and Ellie get into a huge fight. So do read on if you want to see what happens. And next we have Game Between the Suits. This is from Seven Seas Entertainment, and it's volume 3. Here, Sayo and Ryoichi's game continues, with them balancing their professional work life with their sizzling nightlife. Meanwhile, a colleague in the office is raving about the extramarital affairs in a late-night soap opera and insists Sayo check it out. Sayo isn't interested, but Ryoichi's shared distaste for it surprises her, because she wonders why a playboy like him is bothered by the topic of infidelity. So this is going to be released on the 4th of April. Another release on that day is Dr. Stone, Volume 25. So as most of you probably know, this series is set many millennia after all of humanity turned to stone. In this volume, hoping to get a lock on Wyman's position, the Kingdom of Science builds an imaging satellite. And despite repeated failures launching their rocket, Senku and Zeno are determined to make it succeed. Okay, and next we have Sweat and Soap Manga Box Set Volume 2 from Kodansha. So here you can collect the acclaimed romance manga between a perfume prodigy and a woman with a unique scent. So this is a second box set and includes the final 5 volumes of the series, volumes 7 to 11. Plus, you also get some actual soap. It's like a paper soap, which is quite nice. And then you get Kaguya-sama Love is War, Volume 25. This is released on the 4th of April by Viz. And in this volume, will Kaguya's family force her to marry a man she doesn't love in order to fulfill their political and financial ambitions? As the reign of Kaguya's father approaches its end, the war of succession between her brothers heats up. This sounds like an interesting volume. And next we have Quality Assurance in Another World. This is a new series from Kodansha. This is an action fantasy isekai, which starts with Nicola, a village girl living a quiet life in the countryside. Then one day, a dragon shows up and everything changes, because Haga is introduced, a man who shows up and debugs the situation. So he's part of an elite society called the Seekers, who are created to address a series of maladies plaguing the usually peaceful world. Could it be that Nicola's life is nothing like what she thought? Next we have Moriarty the Patriarch from Viz Media, and this is volume 11. We're at a point now in the story where John has just announced to everyone that he's happily engaged to Mary Morstan. She has a very odd request for Sherlock though, one that makes him question her true intentions, or perhaps he's just jealous that Watson is being taken from him. You can never quite be sure with Sherlock, so read to find out which one it is. Okay, we next have My Love Mix-Up Volume 7. Released on the 4th of April, in this warm-hearted romantic comedy, a mistaken identity leads to a blossoming romance between two boys. And in Volume 7, Aoki is dating Ida, but is shaken when he finds out Ida wants to attend college in Kyoto, and so they decide to go to an overnight open campus event together. Meanwhile, Akun and Hashimoto make summer plans, but is Akun ready to meet Hashimoto's parents? Read to find out. And then we have Attack on Titan Omnibus, Volume 10. This is a giant-sized 3-in-1 omnibus edition, which is almost 600 pages long. Apparently, it also has a specially embossed cover, which is pretty cool. So it includes volume 28 to 30, and I won't say anything about the content because I know everyone's at different points with this series, whether that's with the manga or the anime, and one tiny thing could be a spoiler, so we are going to move on. And then we have Rainbow Days Volume 3, which is released on the 4th of April. And here we have Tsuyoshi busy trying to finish drawing his manga before a big summer convention. So Natsuki, Matsun and Keiichi go to his house for the night to help. Will Tsuyoshi make the deadline, or will his 3 friends just cause more chaos for him? I'm gonna guess the latter, because high school friends coming around to help before a deadline surely leads to procrastination, right? And we have Snow White with the Red Hair, Volume 24. For those of you who don't know, this is a romantic retelling of a classic fairy tale about a herbalist and love-struck prince from Viz Media. Obi and Eisetsu are undercover at a mass ball in this volume, but they're not acting like themselves. Most of the other partygoers also kind of seem a bit off, except for one noblewoman. With her wit still about her, the woman flees from the venue, and Eisetsu follows in pursuit. I have to say, I love this front cover. The colours, the poses, it just looks so mysterious and intriguing. And then next we have One Piece Volume 102. In this volume, Luffy is back to face Kaido once more, but will he succeed in this rematch against the strongest man alive? And on other parts of the island, Sanji and Zolo go up against Kaido's strongest warriors. Both will need to raise their fighting skills in order to overcome these adversaries. And this is released on the 4th of April. And the next one, Am I Actually the Strongest Volume 2? This is released on the 11th of April by Kodansha. And this is a comedy action isekai manga about a newborn whose power is ridiculously high. But being reborn as a baby, his royal parents thought he was powerless, and so they abandoned him. In this volume, Haruto is trying to find out who's behind the attempts on his family's life. And we have Komi Can't Communicate Volume 24. For those who don't know, this series is about a socially anxious high school student called Shoko Komi, whose greatest dream is to make some friends, but everyone at school mistakes her crippling social anxiety for cool reserve. Luckily, she meets Tadano, a timid wallflower who decides to step out of his comfort zone in order to help her achieve her goal, which is making 100 friends. In this volume, it's White Day, when traditionally, guys give girls a gift to thank them for their Valentine's Day chocolate. But the boys of Itan High are putting their own spin on the holiday, with interesting results. And while Tadano might be giving Komi and Mambagi a rather basic present, the question he wants to ask Komi is anything but. So that will be out on the 11th of April. And next we have Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. In this volume, Nagatoro and Senpai are off to Kyoto for their school trip. They'll enjoy the culture, food and history of Japan's ancient capital, but when night falls, Nagatoro and her friends engage in the time-honoured tradition of girls' talk. And while the girls spill the tea on their romantic exploits, Nagatoro reveals that she has a plan to jumpstart her relationship with Senpai on the next outing. Want to know if it succeeds? Buy this volume and read. We have a new series from Seven Seas Entertainment called My Life as a Cat, Volume 1. This is supposedly a rom-com where a boy called Nao Kazushiro, a normal high school student, gets into a traffic accident and winds up in the body of a cat. At first it's all fun and games as he gets used to his new feline form, but then the novelty wears off and hunger sets in. Luckily he's picked up by Chica, a cute girl his age who gives him food and a home off the streets. And then we have Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest Volume 12. This is the official sequel to Fairy Tale. Natsu, Lucy, Happy, Urza, and the whole Fairy Tale Guild are back, and they've decided to tackle the 100 Years Quest, which is a job no one's dared take on since the founding of the guild more than a century ago. In this volume, the battles between Fairy Tale and Diabolos continue to rage in the labyrinth, with both sides beating the living daylights out of each other. If you want to see what happens when the fire dragon god Ignia suddenly appears, you may want to read this. Next we have Kaiju number 8, volume 6. So in this series, for those who don't know, the Japan Defense Force, a military organisation, is tasked with the neutralisation of kaiju, monsters. Kafka Hibino, a kaiju corpse cleanup man, always dreamed of joining the force, but it isn't until he's able to turn into a kaiju that his dream becomes achievable. Here, Kafka has encountered kaiju number 9, but he finds himself unable to transform. Luckily, Kikoru comes to the rescue and goes head to head with it. So that's released on the 11th of April. Also released on that day is Orient Volume 14 from Kodansha. This action manga is from the creator of Magi. It's about Musashi, a teenager living under demon rule. As children, he and his best friend made a promise to become the greatest warriors in the world and overthrow the demons. But life intervenes, and 5 years later he finds himself about to become a miner. Yet can Musashi truly be satisfied with a normal life? That sounds like something you'd enjoy reading, then check this out. And we have No Longer Allowed in Another World, Volume 2 from 70s Entertainment. An adventure in another world with cute girls by your side and video game-like powers. Kinda sounds like an anime fan's dream, right? But not so for melancholic author Osamu Dazai, who would quite literally prefer to drop dead. Video games haven't even been invented yet when he gets yanked into another world in 1948. All the adventures he keeps running into is just getting in the way of his poetic dream of finding the perfect place to die. But no matter how much he risks his hide, everything seems to keep turning out okay. If a cheerfully bleak isekai comedy is what you're after, this series could be for you. Next we have Volume 18 of To Your Eternity, released on the 11th of April by Kodansha. This series starts with a lonely boy wandering the Arctic regions of North America when he meets a wolf, and the two become fast friends. They depend on each other to survive the harsh environment, but the boy has a history, and the wolf is more than meets the eye as well. This is a unique and moving manga about death, life, reincarnation, and the nature of love. I don't really want to say more than that because I don't want to spoil anything accidentally for people, because Volume 18 is obviously quite far into this series. And next we have Volume 3 of Dandan, and in this series a nerd must fight powerful spirits and aliens, all vying for the secret power of his family jewel. Fighting alongside him is his high school crush and his spirit granny. So I recently bought Volumes 1 and 2, but I haven't read them yet. I've heard good things, but please let me know in the comments below, have you read this series? And if so, what do you think of it so far? So this is going to be released on the 11th of April. And on the same day, we're going to get Volume 6 of Kingdom of Z. So this manga is high school girls versus zombies and some humans as well, in a world where zombies are very much real. In this volume, the opposing faction wants to command a zombie army and rule the land, but they'll have to beat Mickey and Karen first. So will the friends outwit them and take over their territory? This is the final volume of the series, so you'll have to read to find out. And next we have a release from Sublime, Black or White Volume 6. Here we have Shin, an actor whose awkward personality has gotten him typecast as the villain, whereas his secret lover Shige garners all the prime, princely roles. This series follows their careers and how they try to manage their secret relationship. So after Shin and Shige's double date at an amusement park, it becomes public knowledge that the two are friends, making it possible for them to be seen together. And just when it seems things are starting to go smoothly, Shin gets offered his first role with a kissing scene, but feels unable to tell Shige. Read to find out what happens next. Next, we have Volume 7 of Sakamoto Days, released on the 11th of April. So, Taro Sakamoto was once a legendary hitman, considered the greatest of all time, and bad guys everywhere feared him. But then one day he quit, got married, and had a baby. He's now living the quiet life as the owner of a neighbourhood store. And in this volume, Sakamoto and X finally face off. Although Sakamoto has vowed not to kill, X really shakes him up by threatening his family. How will Sakamoto fare when confronted with an enemy who has a bloodthirsty grudge against the JAA? Read to find out. And then we have Malevolent Spirits Monanogatari. This is volume 2 from Seven Seas Entertainment, and this manga is set in a world where spirits can cross over into the human world and can possess old objects and gain a physical form, which are Tsukumogami. They can be gentle, violent, or somewhere in between, so the Sainomi clan helps send them back peacefully to the spirit world to avoid destruction. Hyoma Kunato is a member of the clan, but holds a grudge from when a Tsukumogami robbed him of something important. Afraid that Hyoma's brash anger in dealing with these spirits will lead to supernatural catastrophes, Hyoma's grandfather sent him to live in Kyoto with Nagatsuki Botan, an unusual young woman who actually lives with Tsukumogami like family. So as time goes on, he sees that perhaps not all Tsukumogami are dangerous, and here he learns something about Botan that makes him want to step up in order to protect her. And then we have volume 3 of the Hunters Guild, Red Hood. So in a world where fairy tales are fact and humans live in fear of werewolves, witches and monsters, only the Hunters Guild can keep the monsters at bay. These red-hooded fighters are anything but little, and only those able to pay a king's ransom can afford their services, but it's a small price to stay alive. In this volume, the final exam aboard the ironworks reaches its climax. Velo's goal of getting everyone to pass requires all of the trainees to work together, but some remain reluctant. Then things take a sudden weird turn after the exam, when Cinderella and the guild start making uncharacteristic moves. Not only that, the mayor, who Velo thought dead, returns and exposes this shocking truth about their world. This sounds really interesting, and it's not a series I have heard before. If you have read it, could you let me know in the comments below whether it's any good, because it sounds pretty interesting so far. That is it for part 1 of the manga releases for this month. Happy shopping!